Welcome. This is my first video on whatever I'm gonna call this. I guess this is a college basketball exclusive podcast. Right now it's the Cole Campbell show, but we're gonna rebrand soon. I've been looking at potential names. It's the first episode, the first words I've said, but I'm already looking to rebrand and to just do bigger and better things. But the X Factor, I have it written down in this Word document I'm looking at. The Bench Mob, the Vibes Pod, the Heart Over Height Pod, HOH. I got a lot of ideas, but look, let me just tell you what this is about. This is a college basketball podcast. There have been a lot of things that I've seen lately that have been wrong and right that have been going on in college basketball. A lot of good things, a lot of bad things, a lot of things that the average fan really doesn't understand. Well, frankly, I'm not the average fan, and I can tell you what's really going on behind the scenes and show you what's going on and you know how teams are winning games and how teams are losing games and what team's going to win the next game and what team's not going to win the next game because frankly, let's be honest, these games in December, January, and February don't matter, and the games in March and April matter. All right, and I'm not gonna insult too many fan bases on this first episode because frankly, it's probably gonna be 10 minutes long and not 40 minutes long like the first take that I did. This was, it didn't save on my phone, which was incredible. I did it about 8 hours ago, and but yeah, I'm gonna start with the preferences, the teams that I really just like in college basketball. I've been a UConn fan my whole life. My dad's been a UConn fan for a while. He brought me up to be a UConn fan, and our whole family is just based around UConn, and I've just it's great being a fan of a team with more national titles in the last 25 years than any other team. Frankly, maybe it's 50 years now. I don't know. I used that stat like 4 years ago before we won the last two titles in 2023 and 2024. But yeah, UConn is great. I love them. Tristan Newton's my favorite player to ever play college basketball. I have a signed photo of him, and then I have a Kemba Walker poster over here that you can't see. But I just love UConn. And another thing that I really like in college basketball, it's a little bit of a, maybe it's a player standpoint more than the team, but I'm a big Xavier Lee guy at Princeton. I really like what he's doing over there. I think he's the most fun player to watch in college basketball. I think he's amazing. I think the win over Rutgers was big, and then the Sweet 16 appearance 2 years ago. He obviously didn't play as much as he does now, but I think he's going to be an NBA draft prospect, and I think he's just a really fun player to watch. And I think it's really cool to watch the things he's doing in the Ivy League. And then the other thing I like is Rutgers. I think it's kind of weird to like another team in New Jersey as well as Princeton, but Zach Martini, Princeton transfer. I don't really like the guy, but Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey are fun to watch, and I mean they're Big Ten teams. I mean Rutgers is in the Big Ten, not the SEC, and my next point is going to be how much I hate the SEC. And Big Ten's a big conference; they're a good conference, but they don't get the love that the SEC does. So frankly, I don't have that much wrong with them. And if Rutgers looks good, then Princeton looks good because we beat Rutgers and they have two top three NBA draft picks and would be top two in most classes. But Cooper Flag looks like an anomaly right now. But with beating Rutgers, that's a pretty big win on Princeton's resume. But I think they could win out right now. Go whatever it is, 13-1 in conference play. I think they play 14 games. They could go 13-1 conference play. They could be like 26-5. If they lose to Yale in the conference championship game, they will not be making the tournament, no matter what their at-large resume looks like, because, well, they're Princeton, and the only Power 5 team they played was Rutgers. So, but again, like I said, March Madness, going back off that, there's been one, this is kind of a random fact, but there's been one conference all time, and it's the 2011 Big East, the one conference has had 11 bids and 11 teams to make the dance out of the 68 team field. That conference was 2011 Big East. I think I just said that. Well, frankly, Joe Lunardi has bracketology right now. CBS Sports, they both have 11 teams coming out of the SEC, and I think it's 10 out of the Big Ten. The SEC sucks, and people really don't realize this. And I think people are going to be really upset when there's so many people who are just like, SEC, SEC, corny, and just like so much about how great this conference is. And I mean, like, the conference sucks. Like, there are 4 decent teams in the SEC to me. When I say decent, I mean teams that, I watch them and I'm like, hey, you know what? This is a pretty good ball club. Alabama. I think they're the best team in the country. Going into the year, I thought that. Sorry, I haven't said it yet. In my 40-minute one that I recorded, I said it about 5 times by now. But yeah, UConn's won 2 straight titles. Not really any doubt in my mind they're about to get 3. All right, I don't really care about. We're probably not going to be ranked in a week after we lose to St. John's, Marquette, and Creighton. But frankly, they'll figure it out by March. Liam McNeely will be back, and UConn will win a 3rd straight title. And all you SEC fans can cry harder because realistically, UConn is getting their 3rd title in a row. But these other 4 teams at the SEC that are kind of cool teams, Alabama, who looked great against UConn, the best team in the SEC to me. Auburn, I don't know that much about them, but frankly, Chennai Broome, Todd Pettiford, I don't know enough about them, but they're the best team in the country, most are saying. Bama just looked good last year, and I think they had some blips on their resume so far, but they're still elite. So you got Bama and Auburn, the 2 top dogs in the SEC to me. Number 3, Kentucky. This is the first year last year it was slightly, I liked Reed Shepherd and Rob Dillingham. This is the first year that I've ever been like, you know what? I don't hate Kentucky with every bit in me. Because Kentucky, John Calipari, all these big coaches, Calipari, Calipari, Coach K, Roy, maybe not Roy Williams as much, but like a lot of these coaches, I don't want to group the Tennessee coach in there because, well, frankly, he sucks, like, in general. I mean, he has no tournament success, Rick Barnes, but, I mean, Coach K and Calipari are loved as 2 of the top coaches all time. It's like, when you look at the All-Stars the NBA All-Stars have been released, the starters, the reserves are being released soon, most of those guys coming out of Duke and Kentucky. And frankly, what have Duke and Kentucky won in March and April? Not much. And a lot of this is because, well, Coach K and John Calipari, they don't really develop talent. They bring in talent and, they just stay there. It's a gap year for them. It's kind of like the G League Ignite, except these guys get to play 30 games a year instead of however many you get to play in the Ignite, which is probably a good thing that thing doesn't exist anymore, the G League Ignite. But all these coaches get, like, enamored and people love them. Coach K sucks, man. Coach K was terrible. Bro, like, Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, and Cam Reddish were on one team, one college basketball team in 2019. That's the first, the third, and I think Cam Reddish was the 5th pick. That's one team right there. And they needed, this is not bias, but I watched that game completely as a UCF fan because I had a good relationship with Taco Fall, and UCF's the only team in Florida who I'm like, you know what, I don't hate them. I think they're kind of cool, like the Knights, But Duke needed multiple lifelines from in and outs from, who was that little point guard? I forget his name, BJ Taylor. He was terrible. They needed him to have a career awful night. They needed him to, miss this tough 15-footer with the game on the line with 2 seconds left. It went in and out and in and out. And they also needed the refs' help. They needed Taco Fall fouling out. They needed all that to beat a 9-seeded UCF. 9-seed UCF. That team doesn't have a single player in the NBA. Taco Fall is not an NBA player. He's in China somewhere. Or maybe in the Utah G League team. That's how little I know about him right now. Because that's how irrelevant that UCF team is. Yet Duke, with Zion Williamson, Cam Reddish, and RJ Barrett, could barely beat UCF. And then what happened a week later? I don't even remember whether they lost in the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. But I can tell you that they lost and weren't a Final Four team. And that's pretty pathetic coming out of a team that you would expect, a lot more out of, because frankly, this team has 3 top 5 picks on their team. And that's why I will never say that Coach K is that good or Calipari is that good when Calipari has had so much. Calipari's had more talent than Coach K. I mean, Coach K had Tatum for like a year, didn't win anything. He had Kyrie for like 6 games, didn't win anything. I mean, like, these guys don't win in March and April. Like, it's cool if you get these highlights at Cameron Indoor Stadium in January and February. You don't win in March. Just realize that. March is safe for the big dogs, the UCO and N, the Huskies. We bleed blue around here. It's the real blue blood. But yeah, I just hate the SEC. I hate it, and I don't remember if I named all the teams, but Auburn, Alabama, Kentucky's decent. I kind of like Mark Pope. Otega Owe had that nice dunk against Texas A&M. I watched them beat Tennessee tonight. I bet on them to beat Tennessee tonight. Guess what? Came through. Thank you. But I just think that they're a pretty decent team in the SEC when most of these teams suck. And the fourth team that I'm like, that they're decent. I hate to say it, but UF is not that as bad as I wish they were. All right, I wish UF was, a middle of the road SEC team when frankly they have a really good shot to win the league. I think Walter Clayton Jr. is a great player. Will Richard, the Aberdeen dude, Condon, they got a lot of good players, and like they find ways, to look good in my eyes, even when I hate them with all of my being. Man, I hate UF. If I got an acceptance letter from UF, if I even applied, which by the way, I only applied to CF. If I applied to UF, I would, and I got an acceptance letter, I would take a photo of it, post it on my story, send it to my parents, my grandparents, and my family members, all of whom, or not all of whom, but most of whom live in Tennessee. And what would I do with it? I would go to a bonfire. I think my church is having one in a couple weeks. I would go to a bonfire and I would burn that acceptance letter to start the fire, just because frankly, I don't want to see anything with the words UF on it in my life. I hate that school. I hate everything to do with them. I hate them more than any professional team. Like if you said, oh, UF wins the national championship, or the Dodgers win 2 straight World Series, which nothing against the Dodgers or the Yankees, they just have all the money. I don't really hate that many professional sports teams, but yeah, I would be pretty up. I would say Dodgers, Yankees in a heartbeat. Lakers NBA Finals or UF championship. Lakers NBA Finals. Let's get LeBron a ring. I hate LeBron, but I'd rather see him lift the ring than Walter Clayton Jr. Hoisting that March Madness trophy. Frankly, I just don't like UF. I never will. Nothing will ever change. But that being said, what is to come on this podcast? I'm already at the 13-minute mark. I'm already over what I wanted to be. But frankly, I want to talk a lot about on these next couple episodes on the corruption of the NCAA and what's going on that people don't realize, because how many people even realize that there were so many bid stealers last year that that the first 4 line was the 10 seed line. And then this year, it's going to be the 12 seed line, because the NCAA is taking bids away from these mid-majors and instead giving them to SEC and Big Ten teams by ranking them right now. Even when they suck, Mississippi State, Ole Miss suck. I can't even name a player on either team because they both suck. All these SEC teams suck. But they scheduled no one in the out-of-conference, and so they look cool because 16-4 in the SEC is good even when every single game you won was against Mississippi Valley State and SWAC and MEAC teams, even though they suck. But the first 4 is going to be on the 12 seed line, which is absolutely crazy to think about. There's going to be no at-large teams. The A-10 is not going to get 2 bids, which is crazy because they're better than the ACC probably, outside of maybe Duke and Louisville. I don't know. That league sucks. But other than the NCAA corruption, you know what this podcast is really about? I post college basketball stuff on my story, and a couple people always respond. There's always a couple people. There was even a girl at school and a couple of days ago who were like, man, you really ranted on your story. I'm like, that's not a rant. Like, you want to see a rant? Watch this podcast. But realistically, there's a lot of people who respond to this story. There's a lot of people saying, Cole, how can you hate the SEC? Cole, how can you hate UF? How can you hate Walter Clayton Jr.? What a player that is. Random people, some of them I know, some of them I barely know, some of them I've never met. And they're saying, Cole, you don't know ball. Cole, you don't know this. Chief Keef ain't about this. Chief Keef ain't about that. Ain't about that. Well, frankly, y'all don't know anything. All right? Because I don't want to use all my UF insults now, so I'll just use the one that I've used the last couple of years. All right. Princeton, St. Mary's, St. Peter's. I'm trying to think of some more teams that would follow this path. Oral Roberts, I think. I'm pretty sure. Dang, I'm going blank on some of these. But what do all these schools have in common? Frankly, they have more, or Duquesne? No. They all have more March Madness wins than UF in the last 5 years. I had somebody walk up to me at school today, Brandon O'Hara, and he said, Cole, how does it, where's UConn on the rankings? How does it feel that UConn's not going to be ranked? And where are they even at? 25. I know they're 25th. All right, who cares? Let me just say, none of this in January and February matters if you can make the tournament. All right? I mean, UF has more NIL money than any Big East school probably. Yet, one tournament win in the last 5 years, I'm pretty sure. I think it was in 2019. I think I looked it up on Wikipedia or something. I couldn't even tell you who they beat. Now I'm gonna list some more schools. Fairleigh Dickinson, Duquesne for sure. Not McNeese, I don't think. Sorry. Yale. And that's definitely a school on here. UConn, Marquette, and Creighton, obviously. There's 3 Big East teams. Yeah, they have more tournament wins. Providence, Kansas State. I mean, I could just name good teams, but I'm trying to name obscure teams. Yeah, I don't know. But all 3 of those teams, Duquesne, Fairleigh Dickinson, and Yale, what do they have in common? They have the same amount of tournament wins as UF in the last 5 years. Please, blow up my phone when UF wins a title game, wins the title this year. Blow it up. Blow it up. I don't get enough texts. Blow my phone up when UF wins a title this year. The only problem with that is my phone's going to be dry in March and April because UF, maybe they're not going to go out in the 2-15 game because they're probably going to be a 2 seed. Maybe they're not going to go out in the 2-15 game. Maybe they won't go out in the 2-7 game to a Creighton or a St. John's or something. Maybe they won't go out in the 2-3 game. But I can promise you one thing. UConn, why did I say UConn? UF is not winning a national title. And frankly, blow up my phone on this too. All 5 people that watch this, an SEC team is not winning at all this year. When was the last time an SEC team even won the national title? Probably Kentucky in 2013, 15, whenever they won it. They're so irrelevant, like who cares? But the last 2 years was UConn. 2022 was Baylor or Kansas. 2022 was Baylor, I think. 2021 was Kansas. 2020 there was no tournament. 2019, I think Virginia. 2018, Virginia lost to UMBC. I don't remember who won it that year, but I can tell you Villanova, probably 2018 and 17 or something. They won it a couple times, obviously. And then UConn 2014-11. But I mean, no SEC teams mentioned, obviously. SEC teams can't get it done in March. Frankly, you get it done in November, December, and January in college football. I mean, the SEC sucks. When are people going to wake up and smell it? The SEC sucks. I mean, there's no real elite conference right now because the SEC is not elite. I mean, the Big East is fun for basketball, but for football, not really. And there's just no elite right now. No bias in my head. The Big 12 is the best football and basketball conference right now People don't realize that, though. They say, oh, Mississippi State's such a cool team in basketball. They should be ranked. No, they shouldn't. Hold on. They I thought I had Mississippi State playing tonight. I thought I had them on ESPN here. But I mean, like, these teams suck. I mean, Texas A&M's cool out of the SEC, but I mean, I knew a guy on their roster in 2022 when they went to the conference championship as like a 13 seed or something. And I just thought, they were a cool team, but Wade Taylor hasn't really developed that much over the last 3 years. And I mean, this just goes to show, like, this is an elite SEC team. This is an SEC team that almost won a conference championship. Shout out Hassan Diarra and Quentin Jackson, absolute ballers, 2 best players to ever come out of Texas A&M. Don't talk to me about Alex Caruso, because Quentin Jackson is better than him, and so is Hassan Diarra. Hassan Diarra is getting a, what's it called? Most outstanding player in the national championship this year. It's going to be Hassan Diarra, not Liam McNeely or Samson Johnson or Caravan. It's going to be Hassan Diarra when UConn gets that 3rd ring. But, yeah, I mean, Zerk Phelps, he's made a bit of an impact for A&M this year, but I'm just looking, like, how is this Mississippi State team, like, oh, I didn't go to the rankings like I thought I did, but how are all these teams ranked? Like, how are so many SEC teams ranked? Like, did nobody watch Kentucky, Tennessee today? Did nobody watch Chaz Lanier have multiple terrible stinkers of game? What, standings doesn't mean rankings apparently on ESPN? ESPN sucks, by the way. And it's not even letting me click. That's just outstanding. Never mind. But look, like, Zakai Ziegler shot 1 for 10 from 3 tonight and was still pretty much Tennessee's most impactful player outside maybe Felix Oxpala. I don't know. I didn't watch the whole game, but, 1 for 10 from 3 can tell a pretty big story of how the game went. Chaz Lanier, not much of an impact on the game, but how did he do against Florida? 1 for 16, I think. How did he do against the next team they played? I think 2 for 16. This Tennessee team is terrible, yet they were ranked number 1 for a while. Why were they ranked number 1 for a while? Because of SEC bias. SEC. The SEC sucks. All right, the rankings finally pulled up. Auburn number 1, Bama number 4, Florida number 5. I'm not going to dispute those. Tennessee number 8. I guess you haven't updated the game today. I mean, I know obviously AP comes out every week, but, like, Tennessee sucks, man. Connect was good for them last year. And if Connect didn't drop 40, they lost. You saw what happened against Purdue. I mean, Purdue was a pretty good team, but, like, if Connect doesn't drop 40, they lose. And, frankly, they don't have a Connect this year either. So, like, they're not... I said it on the 40-minute recording earlier, like, when they lose, I mean, they're going to lose to a 15 seed in March if they get to be a 2, and they shouldn't be a 2. So, then after that is Kentucky. I think they're a cool roster, and Mark Pope... This is the first time I've ever not hated a Kentucky team, so it's kind of cool. Mark Pope's cool. I bet $1 on Kentucky today. They got me $4 back. I don't know why they're plus 5. They got me $6 back. I don't know why they're plus 500 to beat Tennessee. Tennessee is the worst team in the country. A&M, like I said, cool team. New Quentin Jackson and then Hassan Diarra is great, but I mean, obviously they're not there. I don't think they made much development the last 3 years. They had that one dude who I think transferred out, Anderson Garcia, maybe. I'm probably thinking of somebody else, but hit that shot to send it to overtime against Houston. That was cool. But Mississippi State, they suck. Vandy, I guess maybe they don't suck. They beat Tennessee and Vandy? Maybe Tennessee and Vandy? Or why did I just say Vandy? Vandy did not beat Vandy. Tennessee and Bama, I think. Mississippi State, I already said they suck. Ole Miss sucks. In Missouri at 20. I mean, they beat Florida. I mean, I guess maybe that's a story you're good. I don't know. It seemed like they had some white guy that got hot, but frankly, the SEC sucks. I had some results on this that I was going to do, but maybe I've been going too long, so I'm going to slow it down a little bit. Kentucky, Tennessee. Yeah, I mean, Kentucky looked like they sucked tonight, but they were still the better team. They were missing their point guard. I forgot his name, but their center brought the ball down the floor half the time, and Otega Owe looked scared with the ball, even though he had the nice dunk against A&M, which I will keep bringing up because it was a very good dunk. But yeah, Tennessee looked like I said, if they lose tonight, then the Florida game's not an anomaly. They suck. But moving on, UCF Kansas. UCF played great, man. UCF is a team that they're going to be an 11 seed. They're going to be one of the last teams in. But frankly, UCF, they're a team that no 6 seed wants to play. And when they, in fact, beat that 6 seed, the St. Mary, I don't know, St. Mary's doesn't have Aiden Mahaney anymore, so maybe they're not a 6 seed anymore. The Ole Misses, who's going to be a 6 seed, let me tell you, you do not want to play UCF as Ole Miss. I would be taking UCF, not money line. I would be taking alt spread UCF minus 4.5 points because UCF is the better team, man. UCF is better than Ole Miss. They lost to Kansas by 4. They lost to Houston by like 5, maybe. I don't know. They are a very good team. They are a very good team. I wrote down North Carolina Pitt just to put down an ACC game because I was like, who cares? North Carolina's going to blow them out. Wow, Pitt won. That's kind of shocking. I think North Carolina, maybe R.J. Davis taking a step back. Maybe he's not the same player without Armando Bacot to throw the ball to. And St. John's, Georgetown. Yeah, St. John's was like minus 175. Don't really know why they were that low. I took them $1. I bet $1 on Fliff, I just like that bet. And yeah, I got 42 cents or something. I didn't really have much of a doubt in my mind. I think my dad told me I didn't watch the start of the game. I think my dad told me it started 23-3 or something, and I knew it was a 20-point game at halftime, and I never just turned it on. But yeah, I mean, more on UCF here. I have Keyshawn Hall. He had like 36 tonight, and he had against Kansas. He had 40 against Arizona State. Like, they're doing all this without Jalen Sellers. Can't find any injury updates on him, but he's played like 2 games this year. But UCF is a team that nobody wants to play. Nobody wants to play. But I also see here Houston, Kansas. Houston, going back a couple days ago when Houston had that big comeback against Kansas, 83-89, but still won. That's crazy. 6-point comeback with 13 seconds left. That's crazy. That just shows like Houston has dogs, man. Houston is one of the favorites to win it all this year, and I really like them. Outside of UConn, of course, UConn's going to win it all. I mean, bet all your money on that. Houston is a pretty good team, and they're up there with Auburn as, could be top overall seed, because top overall seed is not going to UConn, but, one still knows that they're going to win it all, so I'm not, like, worried or anything. And then I'm not going to talk much more because it's already been a long episode. I could talk about Maryland, Illinois, Oregon. I could talk about UConn, Xavier the last couple of days. That sucked. I could talk about Michigan, Purdue. I could talk about, all these other things. Just know this is going to be a great podcast. What I am most excited about on the podcast is going to be all of these people that have been sending me DMs telling me I don't know ball. I never said it earlier, but guess what? I made this podcast so I can interview you, FaceTime you, put you on the screen, and you can tell me, Cole, you don't know what you're talking about. UF is going to blow out this team. Well, tell me. When you tell me that in March, you tell me that in February and January, I'm going to be like, you know what? Fine. They can beat SEC teams. Hey, maybe they can sneak out a win against Auburn or Bama or... Actually, those are the 2 only good teams in the SEC that are above UF. But you can tell me all that, and I'll be like, sure. When you tell me they're going to beat UCF, I'll be like, hey, hold on, UCF, pretty good ball club. When you tell me they're going to beat a Big East team, because let me tell you, that Big East environment is different. When you tell me they're going to beat a Big East team, I'm like, hold on a second. When you tell me they're going to beat an Ivy League school, hold on. Whether it's Yale that comes out of the Ivy League, Princeton, whether it's Keno, Lilly, and Brown, whether Dartmouth pulls off a universal Cinderella run with Ryan Cornish. I mean, like, UF, don't get comfortable, and just know, all the fans, just know, I don't forget things, and you can come on this podcast, you can say whatever you want, but I'm going to bring you up to all 15 people that are watching, and it's going to get me more viewers. It's going to help me go sort of mini viral when I come to this podcast April 10th, whenever the championship happens, when I'm like, I've been telling y'all for three months, UConn's going 3 in a row. Hurley's already did the sign, 3 in a row. I don't care if they don't have the same roster. Just know, you gotta watch your words, because I know what happened. I already know what happened. I know Princeton is probably going to come out of the Ivy and they're going to go on a run. I know that UConn is going to win it all. And I know that an SEC team is not. Maybe a Big 12 team goes on a run. Maybe Houston, maybe Kansas, maybe Baylor. Maybe they look good. Maybe we play them in the championship. Maybe we play them in the Final Four. Let me tell you who we aren't playing in the championship. The Florida Gators, the Kentucky Wildcats, and the Tennessee Volunteers. Auburn or Bama, I'm not going to mention them. And I'm not going to go down the list of every single SEC team because, frankly, they don't deserve to get mentioned. But Auburn and Bama, I'll let it slide. They're pretty good ball clubs. But just know, this is the end of the Cole Campbell Show. TBD could be maybe the X Factor podcast, the Bench Mob, Vibes Pod, Hoopology, House of Hoops is not, that's probably not a name. The other HOH, Heart Over Height, because, 5'9" white guy. A heart over height. There's a lot of heart in here, let me tell you. There's a lot of heart in here. And we know ball, and we're going to make a lot of money this March and April, because that's when real hoops happen. March and April, not January, February. Never forget. Having a night, everybody.